Hi, I'm Grant Kleiman from Darsana Martial Arts, and here I'm going to take you through Section 1 of our Chen Tai Chi Laodaja Yilu, or Old Large Frame First Routine, which is the first form that beginning students of Chen Tai Chi learn. I'll perform the entire section facing you, and I'll be doing everything on the opposite side, so you can face me and follow along on the Orthodox side. So when I say right, I mean your right, and when I say left, I mean your left. Now I made this video because I had some students request one where I instruct specifically on weight shifting and footwork in this section. So that's what I'll be focusing on specifically here. In future videos, we'll focus on other aspects of the form so we can get the details there as well. We begin with the feet together, body straight and tall, but relaxed from the shoulders all the way down to the hips. The hips, knees, and ankles should maintain the capacity to bend, having a sort of springiness so that as we relax the upper body and sink our weight, the legs have the capacity to transfer that weight through them and into the earth, what we call rooting. Now, as we begin, we sink the weight straight down into our right leg, empty our left leg, and we're going to step the left leg out about shoulder width and empty. So we never set a foot down heavy, it always lands light, and then we shift our weight over to the left, stopping at the midpoint between the 2 feet, so both feet have an equal amount of weight sinking into them. That weight continues to sink as the arms float up, shoulders, elbows, and wrists relaxed. And as the arms come down, we're still having this notion of sinking and relaxing through the feet into the earth. And it's important to remember that sinking doesn't always mean lowering your posture, just relaxing the body and letting the weight settle through the feet. Turning here is by the hips and waist. Even if it appears to be that I'm reaching my arms to the side, it's really through the turning of the body that the movements of the arms are driven. And the weight's more or less centered here until right now where I shift the weight over to my left leg and empty the right toes so that I can turn them to the right. Then pour your weight over to the right foot, empty your left foot, and step it forward empty, just landing lightly on the heel there to show you that the weight is all the way in the right leg as I sink down. Roll the left foot down, shift your weight into the left leg and foot, and then all the weight is in the left leg and foot as we float the right foot forward and land it gently on the balls of the foot before raising it up and sinking even more down into the left leg. We stomp it down empty here, so no weight shifted over to the right there, it's all still in the left. Until now, where we shift our weight over to the right leg as our body turns left. Then as we turn right, we're going to shift the weight back to the left leg. Sink in the left leg, empty the right leg, and float the right leg up as we sink into the left. Here I'm using what's called a sliding post step to get a little bit of a wider step while keeping my weight in my left leg. You don't have to do that, and your step does not have to be as wide as mine. Sink in the left and shift over to the right. About 80% in the right leg as we settle our hips and shoulders and square towards the front. We're sinking straight down into the right foot as the hands come down. Then we're going to shift our weight over and pour it down into the left leg, about 80% in the left. And when we shift, it's not a pure horizontal movement, but a vertical sinking of the weight from the top of our head and shoulders down into the feet. Here, shifting back over to the right, stepping the left foot onto the balls of the foot in that empty stance, which just means that the foot is touching the ground but not bearing any weight. It's all in our right leg right now. It remains in the right leg as we turn our hips, waist, and shoulders from side to side to generate these circular movements of the arms. Always breathing in and out through the nose, or in through the nose and out through the mouth, as long as your breath is easy and relaxed and helping your upper body to sink and settle. We sink just a little more into the right leg as we empty the left. And again, I'm using that sliding post step, but once again, you don't have to. Just step comfortably. Make sure you feel stable. Sink in the right leg, and now shift over to the left leg. About 80% is now shifted to the left, and it's going to remain there as we square our hips and shoulders to the front. Sinking down in the left leg as we sweep the right arm across and over to meet the left. Then shifting over to the right, about 80%, and then even up to 90% of the weight in the right leg as we empty our left toes and turn them outward to the left, about 90 degrees. And then shift your weight into the left, pouring it down into that left foot, making a little adjustment on your right toes if you need to. And stepping forward and empty with the right foot, sinking in the left foot, continuing to sink in the left foot as the right foot floats upward, and then stomps down empty, so no weight in the right foot at all. Now the form would continue in this direction, in this 90-degree turn, but I'm going to turn and face you again so you can continue to follow along. Just know that when you're practicing the form on your own, you would have made that turn and continued these movements in that direction. Now the weight here is still resting in the left leg. Sink in the left leg as you turn to the right. And then as you turn to the left, you're going to shift your weight over to the right leg. And it's going to remain sinking in the right leg as you turn back to the right, drawing your left empty foot in and stepping it backward and slightly outward, then sinking down on your right leg, shift over to your left leg until the right leg is empty and your weight is all in the left. You can then draw your empty right leg in, step it back and slightly outward, sink in the left, and shift back into the right once the foot is placed. Empty your left foot and step it back into that empty ball of foot stance. Square your hips and shoulders to the front and settle in the right leg. Your weight remains in the right as you turn your hips and waist to create the movements of the arms here. Notice that the shoulders and elbows always remain relaxed and sort of hanging downward. We'll get more into the movements of the arms in another video. Step slightly forward and outward with your right leg. Again, I'm using one of those sliding post steps. You don't have to do that. Sink down in your right leg and then pour the weight over and shift into your left leg. About 80% of the weight in the left leg as we're turning here. And it stays in the left leg as we turn the body to the right to open the right arm. And we sink in the left and square our hips and shoulders over the direction of our left knee and toe, which is about 30 to 45 degrees outward to the left. Sink in the left leg and then shift over to the right leg, emptying the left leg and using the turn of the hips, waist, and shoulders to draw the left leg in to that ball of foot empty stance. Sink in the right leg as you turn forward, all the weight in the right. It remains there. And then we lift the left leg up and step forward empty onto the heel of the left foot. Sinking and turning, watch my feet. I make slight adjustments, turning my foot out before I step. Here I step the right foot forward empty on the heel, but I sink in the left and then begin to turn as I shift to the right, and my right toes are going to swivel out right there a little bit, and that allows my hips to rotate. That's important. Stepping forward and outward to the left, sinking down in the right. Pour your weight over, shifting to the left, about 80% of the weight. Stay on the left as you turn to the right. Sink on the left as you square your hips and shoulders directly over the direction of the left toes. Then sink down in the left. Shift to the right. Keep those shoulders and elbows relaxed downward as you turn. Empty stance with the left. Sit in the right. Turn mostly towards the front. All the weight's in the right leg. We're sinking in the right as the left leg lifts up and steps forward. Note that empty step on the ball of the foot, allowing me to turn the foot out slightly as I pour my weight into the left. Turning my hips to bring the right foot through. Another empty heel of foot step. Notice the foot turning as I shift the weight to open up the hip so that I can turn more. Stepping out obliquely. Another sliding post step. Remember, that's not necessary and your stances don't need to be as wide as mine. Sink down into the left. Shift into the right. This movement's a little bit different because we're setting up for the punch. I'm going to shift back to the left. Sorry, to the right. Forgive me. Sink down in the right. Shift forward into your left foot. Twist your hips and waist to generate the punch. Now here I'm just stepping back so that you can see the details of the feet in the next transition because it can be a little bit tricky. The weight is still about 80% in the left leg. Sink in the left. Shift back to the right, emptying the left foot, getting it on that heel, turning the hips and shoulders towards the right to turn your left toes to the right. Then shift back into the left foot, empty the right foot, all the weight in the left as we turn the hips and shoulders and sweep the right foot around in a semicircular motion. Empty ball of foot stance and then lift the right foot up while sinking in the left and stomp your right foot down, empty. So all the weight's still in the left, and that would be the end of section 1. I'm going to go ahead and repeat this movement. This time I'll be in the Orthodox stance because I think that's a little bit easier to follow when I'm standing sideways. So this is the normal way that the movement is performed. So now my right can also be your right. So I shift back into my right leg, sink in the right, shift forward into the left leg, then I draw back into the right leg again, always turning the hips and shoulders. We'll get more into the details of that in a future video as well. Sink in the right, shift forward to the left, and twist the hips as you punch. Now next I'm going to show you some workaround details in this transition because inwardly rotating the toes towards each other, towards the center, can put some strain on the knees and hips. So I'm going to show you can open up your right foot before putting the weight in it. So my weight is still in my left leg, and I turn my hips and waist to swivel my right toes outward a little bit. And I may need to do that to make an adjustment for my right hip so there's no pressure on my right hip and knee and ankle as I shift into the right leg and then turn towards the right. So my left foot is pretty much empty here as I turn. Maybe 10% of the weight is in the left foot. There'll be some weight in it, but most of the weight is getting into the right as I turn my hips and waist to turn my toes. Then I shift back into the left foot. Empty my right foot. And I'm going to be using the turning of my dantian, which is that pelvic center area my hand was resting over. I'm using the hips, waist, and shoulder turn, the spine turn, to move my leg around in that circle. Little adjustment there of my left foot as I prepare to sink into it, and stomp down empty with my right foot. Now, I want to make a note about making these little adjustments. It is absolutely okay to make any adjustments you need to with your feet to aid your stability and balance, to make sure that the movement feels healthy for your joints, and to help you to relax and sink into the legs. I'm going to do this a couple more times, this time focusing on that circular motion of the right foot at the end of the movement, That can be a little bit challenging. It can sometimes throw people off their balance, or it can put rotational stress on the left knee. So I'm going to show you some variations. Here, as I perform the transition, I just pull my right leg straight in, and that's okay. You don't have to make a big circular sweep. If that circular sweep throws you off balance or puts strain in the joints of your left leg, you don't have to do it. Just sink and draw the leg in. Here I'm going to go about halfway through that circle and then draw it straight in and then step it forward into the ball of foot empty stance to complete the movement. So that's a variation, and basically you can slowly work yourself towards the larger movement as your body feels able to support it. There I'm doing a very big and almost exaggerated sweep all the way around and then completing the movement. So remember, whatever your body is capable of is absolutely fine. Listen to your body. Work within your limitations. Nurture your body through your movement. Don't force it or create strain in your body to try to fit some imagined ideal. Make the form your own. That's what this is all about. It's about connecting to our body, connecting to this universal form of movement, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.